Okay. Okay, welcome back, Toshi. Hope you enjoy your break. So we're gonna talk a little bit more on family and settlement, and then we'll jump into the community aspect. Questions about where you lived, and I know you lived in multiple houses, and just describing the community to me.
I told you that we live in Claremont, which is off of the San Gabriel Valley
Right.
thing, but
Yeah, but we'll jump into
because
that.
we come over here, we go to church in West Covina, so we're involved more with here than in Pomona, except the fact that I volunteer at the hospital in Pomona, as he does too. So,
Right. Okay, so what were your duties around the house as a child, and what were the other children's duties?
well, just before the war started, that's when I remember thinking that, well, I helped on the farm, according to my younger sister. I don't think we really did, because that would be a lie almost. But she had a bike and I had a bike, and we were, how old? Really young. But we came back and we helped. Maybe my father might have a little strawberry patch where he was selling berries, and we sold the berries actually. Yeah. I guess that's what my job was, selling berries.
And when did you learn how to cook, and who taught you?
Oh, I know. It was real busy during the strawberry season, and my father, because he had some help, Mexican laborers, it was up to me and my sister to go home. We go to a little grocery store and buy some hamburger or whatever, and we might have some squash that was growing in the field and make a stir fry or whatever. And it wasn't like my mother taught me how to cook, right, looking at me and all that. It was just by watching her and having rice and vegetable and protein meal. But I don't remember saying this is when I learned how to cook. I just did it, I guess. But I don't remember how old I was when I started it. But it wasn't that young, I don't think.
What was your favorite dish cooking?
I'll say Chinese food. At the time, you mean when you were growing up? Yeah, Chinese.
Anything in particular?
I like sweet and sour.
Can you describe the community that you grew up in? Let's talk about San Gabriel.
Well, we didn't have much of a social life. There was a church that we went periodically, Sage Methodist, and we went to Sunday school, but periodically, sometimes regularly, and then times when we didn't go that often. But also on Saturday, Reverend Yokoi held a Japanese school, and I went to that also.
Can you spell his name out for me?
Say that again?
Can you spell his name out for me?
Yokoi, Reverend Yokoi.
Can you describe your neighborhood?
I didn't have much of a neighborhood, like I said, because you were isolated. Here's a farmhouse, and all around you is fields. And it wasn't like you had any particular need to go to your next door neighbor to borrow any food or whatever. It's just that you just stayed there. But there were some other Japanese farmers here and there, and we'd see them every now and then. And there was I think there were Japanese schools scattered here and there. So they would have, I know, they used to have Kenjinkai. If you're from Hiroshima, they would get together and have a picnic. And because we were Tokyo, there wasn't a Kenjinkai, for us to get together with same people from that area. But we did go to a Japanese town every so often, and meet other people there too.
And these picnics, are these picnics like family gatherings?
Yeah, it was a family gathering, and it was a big deal in those days because the whole valley had a lot of people from here and there, and just to have a group. I'm sure if you went to the archives in a Japanese museum or somewhere, there would be lots of pictures with a whole group of, those long pictures with families and like people from certain parts of Japan.
And what kind of activities did you do during these picnics?
They'd have races, like gunny sack, or what is it, where you carry something with a spoon, the usual.
Did you partake in any of these fun activities?
I did, yes.
What was your favorite activity?
I think it was just running races. I don't know if it was relay or if it was the whole bit or what, but it's all not real competitive. It's just for the fun of it, I think. Everybody gets a prize.
But you would win these races, right?
What was that?
You would win these races?
Say,
you would win these races?
Yeah. Well, I said, yeah, I was okay, I guess.
Being a little too modest here. Alright. Did you shop around in your neighborhood, or was it just stay at home?
On the way back, because we were farming and they wanted to get the most out of sunlight, my father and mother would be working out with the Mexican laborers, and me and my sister would stop at a store, little mom and pop kind of a grocery store called Mapes, M-A-P-E-S, Mapes grocery store, and we buy some meat, and on the way back there would be a dairy. We buy some milk there, fresh milk, and then, we bought groceries at the store, Later, on Saturdays, my father might drive to a little, bigger supermarket kind of a thing. It wasn't that big of a supermarket in those days, but the neighborhood bigger store to buy other stuff. But, we just bought American food. We go to Japanese town to buy Japanesey kind of food. Japanese town, I'm talking about Little Tokyo area.
And do you remember where these stores were located in? Mape store and the dairy store, like which street?
Mapes was on San Gabriel Boulevard, near the our farm, which was on the Edison line. But I can't remember the intersection, but the closest big one would be Garvey and San Gabriel Boulevard, a little up beyond. And what was the other one you wanted?
The dairy store?
I thought it was on us. Hi there. Rush. And Delta.
Is that in the Amani area?
Do you know where Potrero Heights is?
I do.
Yeah. Our home was maybe in Potrero Heights, I don't know, or at one time. That's what I mean. I moved here and there and everywhere, so it's hard to say, Some people would say that's odd, but it isn't for us because that's what happened.
What was the largest town or city that you remember visiting when you were young?
The hardest what?
The largest city that you remember visiting while you were young?
San Francisco. I don't know if it's bigger than L.A., is it?
Good question.
At one time I thought it was, many years ago. San Francisco.
Yeah. Can you describe your impressions of San Francisco?
Well, even as I lived there for a couple of weeks, according to my mom, I was so little that she took a Pullman so that I could have a little space to sleep at night coming to Los Angeles. But I consider that my birth, home. That's my favorite. And San Francisco, yeah.
How did you get along with your neighbors in the community?
Oh, you mean before the war?
Before the war.
Very little. We didn't have much contact. That's the truth, because first of all, my mother and my dad didn't speak English, and we just didn't. I think we must have just stuck to ourselves. That's, a fact of life that happens to my family. Like, if you were to ask Fred, because he lived in an area where there's a house after another, the kids play with each other every day. I don't know, I felt like there must have been more contact. After when we got married, that's when my kids had a chance. It was a lot of fun every day. They'd play with the kids, neighborhood kids, out in the street or backyard or wherever. But not when I was growing up.
And you did say that the demographics around your community was mostly Japanese folks?
I think it's Caucasian, mostly. And Japanese farmers were scattered here and there in El Monte and San Gabriel.
So it's predominantly white.
Yes.
And did you... Okay. So because you were confined to the house, you didn't really experience any racial discrimination because you have no contact with white folks?
No, I didn't. But just before we went to camp, I saw this. I just happened to be walking, and I don't to get the mail or whatever, and he had the coldest eyes I ever seen. It scared the daylights out of me. He didn't say anything, but he just looked at me. But hostile is the word. And when you're a kid, you just get it. Yeah, but then I'm sure a lot of people got discriminations and a lot of unspeakable things happening to them.
And right before the camp, the last house that you lived in was in San Gabriel, right?
What, before the what?
Before the war?
Yes, yes.
The last house you lived in was in San Gabriel.
Right.
And after camp, where did you reside in?
Well, we lived in Salt Lake, and my father worked a little bit there, and we stayed there till the Pacific Coast. There was a time when it was off limits, right? They released the whatever, that people could go back again. So we went back and lived in Los Angeles for a while.
Where in Los Angeles?
First house, we didn't have a place to stay, so we lived in Japanese town in a little hotel there.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that experience, living in the Japanese hotels?
In a Japanese town?
In a Japanese town?
Okay, it was there was a housing crisis shortage just because of wartime. A lot of people came to America, and Los Angeles, and aircraft defense industries and all that. So coming back in what year was that? It was very difficult to find a place to stay. And we lived in a Toyo hotel, me and my sister and there was 6 of us, so part of us lived in one room, and part of us lived in another room that wasn't, connected to one another, just because we were just happy to have a place to stay. Yeah. And then when we finally found a place to stay, I told you about it. Where there was said it was how much it was going to be the rent, because my father had no choice. We stayed there, but housing authority I mean, there must have been a ceiling or whatever where you shouldn't charge so crazy, right? That I don't know if we had some money that we got back, and so with that money that we got back, maybe he put it on a down payment to a house in Juliet, which is Adams and Vermont area, and that became like a permanent house.
What city was this again?
Is that what?
What city was this?
Los Angeles. East LA to I don't know what part of Los Angeles that is. Do you know Los Angeles at all? No. Adams and Vermont area.
And how long did you stay there for?
I stayed there till I was married, and that's 1951.
And where did you move to after you got married?
After I got married, we moved to Pomona, South Pomona. And our kids went to school in South Pomona.
Did you go to school when you were young?
Me? I just went to high school.
Which high school?
Heart Mountain, Wyoming, which is a relocation center. That's as far as I went. I went to, adult school here and there, but it isn't like I had a degree of 2 years or whatever.
And how long did you live in South Pomona for?
1980. My mother was ailing, and I have the youngest, Kimmy, was going into junior, and so we moved to Claremont. And did you want to know how long I lived in? 1950 was when I got married. 1980. How many years is that?
30.
Does that seem right? I guess it is, because we stayed, we moved from 30 years, let's see. Oh, Kimmy, that might be right.
And what was the racial demographics when you moved here, or moved to South Pomona?
Mostly like white, and there must have been some Latinos, but I have no clue as to specifics, So the schools that the kids went to were mostly white at the time. Sometimes the neighborhood changes completely, and even as you go to one school in the next year, things change, but it was mostly white during the time when we lived there. And Latinos too at the time, I forgot. A mixture, but not too many Asians. But there were the farmers. A lot of them were, Japanese farmers there.
What about the house you lived in on Adams and Vermont? What was the racial demographics there?
What kind of a house?
Mm-hmm.
It was substantial. It looked like had a nice porch and living room and 3 bedrooms, and it was old, so the driveway, I remember, was real narrow. And I don't know if it would be very stylish at that time, but That's the kind of house it was.
And what was the racial demographics at that house?
At that time, it was a mixture, and maybe mostly white. But I think if you were to go there now, it's changed completely. My sister went, when we lived in East LA for a while, she had a Mexican accent almost. But then when we moved to Adams and Vermont area, there's mostly white, but it was a blend, I think, yeah.
And did you experience any racial discrimination living, coming back after the war, living in LA?
You know what? I don't remember it too much, just because the kind of places we lived were a blend. You know, Los Angeles is, you know, everybody, Latinos, blacks, and whites, and so I don't remember too much that, you know, I had that kind of problem. I can't say that I didn't, but I would know. I'd have to say what I'd have to dig into my brain, and I might say in the middle of the night, "Oh, I forgot about that." No, I can't remember anything right now. Empty up here.
Okay, all right. So we've reached the hour of this interview.
Thank you.
Got some good details on San Gabriel.
I wish I could say, "Oh my gosh, you should have seen this happen to me," but nothing much happened in my 90 years. Which
okay.
might be a good thing, you know.
Right.
It could have been horrible where we had, you know, like evacuation.
Mm-hmm.
Some people had to risk their life, and some lost it trying to move from A to B, right? It's unbelievable. Japanese people with the WRA authority, you know, war relocation, I don't know. No, not what I get mixed up with that other one, but you know, because of the fact that we were told to move, in those days people didn't rally and cry out whatever bothers you, you scream and yell right now. That's the style, right? But we were like, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that. We agonized that we had everything in order and we were going to do it just exactly. That's how we were. There was a lot of people that were very mad about being dislocated, but we didn't go into that so much. We moved from, you know, like I said, because we lived near a water tank, to LA, and then to Santa Anita in Wyoming. Okay, I'm talking too much, and here you have to do. What do you have to do this afternoon?
I'm gonna stop the tape right now. So this is the end of the interview.
This is the interview. Oh.
All right. Thank you so much.